but actually being able to bill them directly and owning the client in terms of uh, being able to offer them specific packages. Today, the packages may be available, but either customers are not aware of it, or maybe they are not educated enough to do a selection, or they don't feel the need for doing selection because so many channels are anyway available for free. So what is the way forward? How do you see the company, the business actually improving the P&L, the profitability in terms of operating profits?
See, the way we see the industry, the outlook in terms of City Cable that we have, and we had to draw a parallel in terms of the way we have moved from the analog regime to the digital regime. If I have to draw a parallel, in the analog business, as an MSO, we were not even collecting 1/10 or 1/100th of what in the digitization phase that we are collecting. Analog was completely driven by the carriage, and the subscription was taken a beating. Now, with digitization happening, there is a sustained effort in terms of increasing the ARPU. The ARPU in the phase 1 has reached a level where between all the leading MSOs, we are collecting close to 90 to 100 rupees. Similarly, in phase 2, it has come to a level of 60, 70 rupees. With phase 3 starting, I think there will be a start with the volumes. Initially, it will start at a lower value of 30, 40, 45 rupees kind of, but eventually they will also catch up. So in the long term, if you see increasing the profitability for the company, ARPU is definitely going to play a significant role. Yes, we have grown. We have, over a period of 3 years' time, we have in phase 1 and 2 reached a decent level, I would say. Same thing will continue in phase 3. And eventually, when the entire phase of digitization is over, by the time December 2017, when phase 4 is also over, we see definitely there is a gradual shift in terms of ARPU, which will take care of, because other than the balance sheet, there's if anybody can analyze, and all of us being listed company, it's the activation revenue which is playing, but there's a lot of debt which we need to service. So the ARPUs going phase 3, phase 4 market, the phase 2 markets initially, and we as a leading all 3, 4 MSOs, we are also collaborating at a front where we are talking on a daily basis in terms of increasing the ARPU, creating some kind of a trust between all 3 of us, no swapping and all of that. So ARPU definitely will play a major, and then to top it on value-added services. And also to enhance, there is a separate line of business on the broadband side. We are focusing on the broadbands. So broadband ARPU is also going to play a significant role.
So coming to Pankaj, like, are you seeing traction in terms of ARPU, especially now that phase 3 and phase 4 has started? So what kind of traction do you expect in terms of revenue in the coming markets, in your geographies?
I'm so sorry, I'm Piyush actually. So, see, as far as ARPUs are concerned, Mr. Vibhash has said is perfectly right. But I'll add one thing into it. The entire ARPU of the subscriber has to go up. When we talk about ARPU, if we'll say we have to command better share from the cable operator, that's not true. In absolute numbers, the share should go up, or amount should go up, not the percentage. Because for a cable operator also to survive, there is a money which is required. He is also investing. He is also putting in cost for the collection or maintaining the network. So in absolute numbers, absolute amount, the amount should go up for the MSO and the cable operator both. Secondly, when you talk about the trust should be built between the cable operator and MSO also. Unless until your LCO is going to trust you, he is not going to feel secured, or he'll keep on jumping from one MSO to other. So trust has to be built between the MSO and the cable operator also. ARPUs definitely has to go up. That's the only silver lining we have as on today. When we talk about value-added services or broadband, there's a big investment which is required. To get this investment, unless until ARPU or the money is not either flowing from some venture capitalist firms or from the market, generating the revenue internally will be very difficult. And that will be possible if and only if the ARPUs go high.
Yeah, coming to Bivu, if you can comment on like what do you see in the long term when everything has stabilized? Because we all know what is the ARPU that is getting collected at the ground level. That goes up also. MSOs will know what is the amount. Broadcaster also will know what is the amount. So what do you think eventually is going to be a fair share of the customer subscriber wallet share that MSO is going to get? And what will make a MSO sustainable, profitable on its own without depending on activation revenues?
Well, I think this is a question which can be better answered by Jagdish and others, because we are actually per se not an MSO. We are on our own last mile. So whatever ARPU comes, we get that. So we don't have this MSO LCO issue. We are at the best a big LCO actually. So, but coming to generally on the ARPU, my view is, there has been a lot of unnecessary hype been done around ARPU and linked to digitization.
But since you also handle the last mile, you are in a best position to answer what is the fair share for MSOs.
Okay, so let me answer. Let me try actually. See, there has been a lot of unnecessary hype around digitization and ARPU linked to each other. The objective of digitization, in my view, was never to increase ARPU. A government mandated technology or whatever solution can never be implemented if the objective is that customer has to pay more. The objective was or should be that you give choice to the consumers, let them decide, and ARPU can actually go down post digitization. If I watch 10 channels at home, I did this math many times. A family of 6 in my home, my parents, me, my wife, son and daughter, all together is 11 or 12 channels. So I will be happy to pay 50 rupees. Why should I pay 500 rupees or 300 rupees? ARPU actually can go down. So cable post digitization, and currently, it's not fully digitized in the sense that it's digital but not addressable. So you are still carrying with the legacy ARPU, maybe a little bit higher because the number of channels has gone up. But ultimately, when it's properly digitized, encrypted, there will be more and more pressure on ARPU. There will be a large section of the consumers who will opt for low value packages, and there will be some who will opt for high value packages. The average actually may not go up. So the example which is thrown at us, and in the earlier session they were discussing that, this is what the ex-Star TV CEO Gurjeev used to tell me always, that a popcorn packet apparently in Bombay Mall costs 250 rupees. And how can somebody has 200 channels 24 hours at 250 rupees? This is a mass product. If you want to compare cable TV with some product, better compare with rice and dal and not popcorn and multiplex ticket. The cable business is not ARPU-driven business in my view. It's a business which is very market share centric. That means you tier the prices, you give at 99 rupees, you give at 500 rupees in the other extreme, grab every customer in the neighborhood, give them good service, and then add broadband on top of that. Cable worldwide has never been successful on a pure TV. Cable will be successful only if you add multiple services on that. So I think focus should go into that, and that needs much more investment. The investments you have seen during digitization, I would call it a fraction of what it is required for cable TV industry to survive. Cable cannot compete with DTH on a pure TV basis. So ARPU, if I have to answer your question, I think the ARPU will remain at the current levels, but the penetration should improve. The broadband services should come on the same wire. That will make the business so much attractive. And we should not be talking too much about the set-top box. This dabba will become irrelevant in 10 years from today.
That will be a big concern because definitely the idea of digitization was not to increase the ARPU, but a lot of investment have been made at the ground level, assuming that a fair return can be earned on those investment. So if ARPU doesn't go up and the set-top box becomes irrelevant 10 years down the line, so there would be, I think, big concern regarding the investment that has been made.
See, please look at the worldwide trend. Comcast, which is the world leader, has now more broadband customers than TV customers. In my network, we are in tier 3 markets. The market of Bhubaneswar, which is the state capital of Odisha, and Odisha, Bhubaneswar has now become #1 in smart city, but Odisha has always been known for starvation, death, and other things across the country. In Bhubaneswar market, my broadband revenue is higher than my TV revenue. That's the business in cable TV across the globe. And if we get stuck in set-top box, And ARPU, I think it will not happen.
Now, coming to the channel side, now I think there has been a lot of talk going on about the number of channels in India, 500 channels being offered, most of it coming free or under coming standard package. Now, the big issue is like in many of the genres, does a customer really need so many channels? For example, in the news segment, possibly India has higher number of channels than in any other major countries. So similarly, in several of standard genres, like regional channels I can understand, regional or very focused entertainment channels I can understand. But there are several genres or categories where there seems to be a surfeit of channels. Now offering many channels at a very low price, vis-a-vis offering a few channels of much better quality, which consumer is willing to pay. So what will be your view in terms of long-term sustainability?
Yeah, firstly, I think offering at a low price, pricing is not really in the hands of the broadcaster today. It's actually in the hands of the MSO and the LCO. If you look at the price at which it's currently put up on the site, if you add up all the channels together, it will come in the range of 1,000 rupees, right? So from a channel offering perspective, the intent is very clear to offer a price at a particular value and thereby get the real value of the channel that you're offering. But I think from a broadcaster perspective, and to his point on this product being compared to probably dal or rice, I think over the last 10 years, whether we were in the analog era or the digital era, every broadcaster has invested in content. And I think that expectation has gone up from a consumer perspective. And at the center of it all, from a broadcaster's point of view, the consumer is in the middle. And to live up to his expectation, given the kind of exposure he's got from the West, investing in high quality content is a continuous process for us. So I think for us, it's really concerning when we understand that ARPUs are not going to go up, or in spite of so many million homes getting digitized. We still are concerned about addressability and gross billing and all of that, and the whole MSO LCO value equation. So I think that really is a big concern. And why not have 500 channels or 1,000 channels? I mean, it's up to the consumer to choose the pack he wants or the channel he wants.
Would you like to add something?
Yeah, I mean, several things actually. But let me start with this thing about, you did mention the news genre, not because I work in the news genre, but in general. This notion that there is such a thing as too many channels is sort of boggles my mind for a very simple reason. Croatia is a country of about 1 million people, right? Of course, they have people who go around winning Grand Slam tournaments all the time, but it's just 1 million people. And for that 1 million people, they have 3 distribution platforms. 1 million people in about 500,000 households, if you will. Average family size of 2. 85 channels. 1.5 languages. In the sense that there is a small Serbian minority in that 1 million people, but basically everybody speaks Croat. And do the maths, right? 1 million, 1,200 million. Even if you only look at TV viewers, 1 million, 160 million TV homes, 16 fives are 800 million people. So there's plenty of room for growth. B, there is no such thing as too many news channels or too many anything channels. There are too many channels that look exactly like every other channel. In every genre in India, there is a very high level of tendency to mimic what the leader is doing. So if the flavor of the season is an anthropomorphized snake, then every entertainment channel will have an anthropomorphized snake over the next few months. So this thing of tendency to mimic runs across genres. Can you offer differentiated offers for 100 news channels in India? You could probably offer for 500 news channels in India. Just go to the United States. I mean, every what they call designated market area, DMA, has a local news station, and that deals with local weather, it deals with local traffic conditions in much the same way as radio does. And one of the joys of cable digitization is actually it enables you hyperlocal. So therefore, that point I think is misplaced. I don't think there is any such thing as anywhere near how many channels we can support. In any case, in a more and more digital world, the conventional definition of the linear channel itself is self-defeating. After some time, we will not think of it like that. We think of linear channels because we've been used to linear channels, but at least, can I have a quick show of hands? How many Netflix consumers now in this room? Yeah, and if you ask this question 6 months hence, I suspect almost every hand will go up. Now, the thing is that, precisely, at 800 rupees, right? So price is not an issue. I disagree with you. I think price has to do with product. If you deliver me a product, I'll be willing to pay a price for it. If you deliver me high definition, I'll pay for it. If you deliver me video on demand, I'll pay for it. If you deliver me, 6-channel audio, I'll pay for it. So keep delivering me a better product. The consumer is prepared to pay. So this, ARPU again in the conventional sense was that you paid ARPU once in a month. We don't anymore. A lot of product, I mean, there is a retailizing of the, one of the things about digital is there's a retailizing of everything. You in a sense have to imagine that like that, the square that you see when you go to the US, that little thing on which you swipe your credit card, you should start to imagine that this micropayment thing will become possible here as well. That a Paytm or some other kind of a wallet.
Question regarding the total financial health of the industry. If you look at digitization phase 1 and 2, over the last 3 years, the industry as a whole has invested almost about possibly around 20,000 crore in building the infrastructure. Maybe a little less, but between 16,000, 17,000 crore in building an infrastructure. Going forward in next 3 years with phase 3 and 4 coming, another significant amount of capital expenditure, both in terms of seeding set-top box as well as doing ground level infrastructure will be required on the digital side, both for the MSOs as well as for the DTH operators. Now, if you look at the financials of the industry, while on the balance sheet side, a lot of investments have been already made. In the P&L side, the kind of benefit that was expected because of either the level of RPU that the industry was assuming, that has not happened, or maybe the share of revenue that the industry at the MSO level was expecting, that has not yet happened. So we can see some amount of stress building up in terms of the P&L. We have activation revenues, but those are not long-term source of which can support the investments. So there is a lot of subsidization still going on in terms of gaining your subscriber. I guess the focus is more on gaining market share and gaining an all-India presence. So I'll start with Mr. Jagdish Kumar, like as an industry veteran. So what is your view in terms of how do you see the industry really coping with this kind of investment? And also, do you think the industry as a whole would require some kind of additional funding support, either in terms of equity or maybe the FDI route, which because of FII investment options that is available?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you to Television Post for organizing this. I think it's a good forum for us to meet and debate, because in the course of our daily work, we sometimes miss the big picture. And I don't consider myself an industry veteran. I'm learning every day. I think this is a new industry, and every day you learn new things, and especially now with digitization happening, it's like a startup again. On to your question about whether this industry requires capital, my very clear answer is yes. I think this industry definitely requires capital. If you look at all the players in broadcasting, or whether it's in the distribution side, or if you look at Tata Sky, or if you look at the DTH side, broadcasting has got some significant capital which has come into broadcasting through various multinational media houses. Whether it's Star TV through 21st Century Fox and News Corp, it's Viacom in Network 18, it's Disney, it's Sony Television. So all of them have brought some significant capital. In fact, if you look at what Star TV is doing now, is acquiring properties like as if it is their first year in India. I mean, they have acquired some significant properties in cricket. So there is a lot of capital coming into one part of the industry. Unfortunately, that has not been seen in our part of what we are doing. And finally, we are the final link to the consumer. So that is very clearly, I think, it is, and I'm very, positive about what the government has done in liberalizing the FDI regime to get even 100% FDI into this industry, which is, I think it is left up to us to drive the economies. When somebody comes and looks at this currently as a business, I think there are certain questions which we all will be faced with on the viability of the business itself on the distribution side. So I think there are lots of questions which you got to answer. But my simple answer to your question of whether we need capital, we definitely need it. All our balance sheets are very stressed. All of us have taken debt, whether it's Citi, Den. I don't know about Hotel. Hotel, I don't know whether it's taken debt, but I'm sure there is a stress in our balance sheets. We have, and we are all public companies. So it's not like as if we can tell that there is a long gestation, you'll have to be patient about returns. That's not possible because the public markets are pretty severe. I mean, they ask you questions every quarter. So you look at your span for your planning can't extend to too far away. It has to be in a way that the public markets, reward or punish you. So I think there is a definite requirement of a lot of capital.
So in terms of the P&L side, capital raising is one point, but clearly valuation would remain a concern there, looking at current market conditions. But in the P&L side, where do you see the improvement coming going forward? In terms of, do you see that coming because of improvement in ARPU? Is there scope for improving the ARPU? Or do you see that you would be able to negotiate better maybe with the LCOs to get a better share of the revenue that currently maybe the LCOs are collecting? And the actual addressability in terms of not just having a digital access to the customer,